Well, hello, and welcome to a brand new show here on DTH that we are calling DTH Lists because we're doing lists.
Boom.
Now it's coming to the end of the year and the end of a console generation. We thought this would be a prime time to do some kind of top 10s. And to kick it off, we are going to be doing top 10 of the console generation. It's going to be long, guys. I'm sure you know. As soon as you click the video, you would have seen the timestamp, and it's going to be long. But this is going to be more of a podcast-like format. Me and Jamison do not know each other's lists. We kept it completely secret. Obviously, we have a list each, and we are going to go through our top 10, and we're going to discuss each one with each other, and why we picked it, why it's in its place, and kind of reflect and have a bit of nostalgia on how good this console generation has been. So I am going to kick it off. I'm excited, man. I'm excited because...
Do it!
Are you ready? You ready for my number 10?
I am ready.
Okay, my number 10 of the generation is Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, as I was going through my list, I really felt that I had to put a sandbox game among the list because... sandbox games, sandbox action games, have always been some of my favourite games that have come out. The Grand Theft Auto series has been, to me, just one of my most, I just always get so hyped. I always look forward to them so much. I was so passionately addicted to 4, and it was very hard to choose which sandbox game I wanted. I am such a fan of Red Dead Redemption. I love the Saints Row series. I really didn't know what I was going to put in it. And in the end, I managed to nail it down between Saints Row 2, which was my personal favourite co-op experience I've ever had with one of my friends. And obviously Grand Theft Auto 5. And in the end I had to give it to GTA 5 just for the overall quality of the package. I know some of the older games might hold more dearer memories, but you just can't take away from what Grand Theft Auto 5 has accomplished this year. Has one of the greatest single player campaigns I've ever played. And the multiplayer has just brought me some of the happiest times of my life. In gaming.
Yeah, even though the multiplayer is kind of crap.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like this co-op sandbox, and the fun comes from dicking around with other people. Yeah, I agree. It's weird. GTA 5 is kind of like the first Grand Theft Auto that really clicked with me. Like, I liked 4's story a whole lot. But I didn't really like anything about how it played, and I sort of played through the main story, and that was that. And the previous games, I like GTA 3 and San Andreas. I certainly what was it? Vice City. Like, I played all those, and they were all great. But I don't know, that was a long time ago as well. So, but yeah, GTA 5. It was definitely the first one that It's a really good game. You're right.
Also, we've done
it's friggin' gigantic.
We've done a half-an-hour review on it on this channel.
We did.
So if you haven't watched that and you want to know our very detailed opinions on every aspect of the game, click on this annotation on the screen. We also did an individual review just on the multiplayer as well.
Yeah.
So wow, look at all these
so
opinions
organized.
you have to listen to. Yeah. So yeah, number 10, GTA 5. Over to you, sir.
Everyone, I know the internet is gonna love my number 10. It's Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts.
Yes! You told me you took it off!
Yeah, well, I lied. So
you put it back on.
It was sort of like one of the first games that I played after the whole Halo 3 Call of Duty 4, because it came out early 2008. And I got my 360 in like early 2007, so I sort of played a metric ton of Halo 3 and pretty good amount of COD 4, and then this was like one of the first proper not shooter video games I played on the 360, and I have zero attachment to Banjo Kazooie. I don't care. I've played the previous games and liked them, but I didn't care that they had completely changed what Banjo Kazooie was, and more than anything, it was just like it helps that the game looks really, really good and has great sense of style and fun to it, and it has a really, really weird sense of humor. But more than anything, it's the gameplay. Like, it's the creating of these weird vehicles to accomplish these surprisingly difficult tasks that is what kept me coming back to it. Is even after completing the main game and spending way too much time with it, there were still challenges that I hadn't done, and there were still ones that I had done really poorly, and I always wanted to go back. And I still do go back every once in a while and load it up and take a crack at it and create, some dumb helicopter boat with missiles and floaty things on it, and I don't know, it's such a weird game, and it's just that those mechanics are really, really fun, and it just, you have to be really creative to do well at it, and I really, really like that. And you know, come at me, internet, I don't care. It's a great game.
I think it's a good choice.
And it's the last great game that Rare will probably have ever made. Rest in peace.
It's one of the best games that no one ever played.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it was like it suffered from the $40 game syndrome, so it was only $40 when it came out, and nobody ever seems to think that a $40 game is worthwhile because, I don't know, it's like a B movie almost, and it's not. I think it really is one of the better games of the entire generation that I feel like almost no one has ever played, which, just because they had this, you know, expectation that it was going to be what all the other Banjo games were like, and it's a shame, but goddamn, I love it so much.
It is so good. Yeah, it's completely unique. I've never played anything like it since. I don't think you can really say there's another experimental car designing physics-based puzzle game.
Yeah, it's super weird, and I love it.
It's hard to put into words what it actually
it's weird
is.
And difficult to describe, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good choice. Number 9. On to number 9. So my number 9 is Portal 2.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Now, Portal was one of my favourite puzzle games ever made. I played that. I think I completed Portal an obscene amount of times. I think I completed it around 6 or 7 times. And I was excited when Portal 2 was coming out. But I can't think of many sequels that have excelled on the original so well in every single way. I think the single player is one of the most hilarious and well-written stories. I think it's creative. I think it's just generally fun, and it's very nice to have a completely different multiplayer mode. And the multiplayer was much more challenging than the single player, which I really liked. It was a really original experience. I've never had to like cooperate with a friend in this sort of puzzle manner before. I remember playing it with my friend from home, and it's very tricky. And the PC version is just limitless. I've played countless hours of really, really well-designed, user-created levels, and it's basically just my favourite puzzle game ever. I'm a big puzzle fan, and it's got my favourite humour in it out of most video games ever made, and it's just amazing. And I'm a massive fan of the Portal franchise, if it can be called after 2 games. But yeah, I think it's very well deserving to be on this list.
Yeah, I will have some things to say about it maybe later on in this list, let's say.
Okay.
Okay. My number 9 is your number 10, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Ah, okay, cool.
Yeah. Not much to say. We covered it already. It's really, really good. Like I said, it's sort of the first GTA game that I really wanted to spend as much time as possible with, and like I said about the other games that I want to go and replay again, as soon as this comes out on the PC or next gen, I will buy it and replay it all again, because like you said, the main campaign is really great, and especially some of those story missions. You know, the heists are the best part, but there are also some really fantastic and fun story missions, and the writing is great, and the sense of place is like unmatched by pretty much any other game. And yeah, so it's great, like we said.
Correct. My number 8 is Guitar Hero 2.
Ah, okay, interesting, yeah.
Now, I was hugely into the Guitar Hero games when they came out. I was what you could call a Guitar Hero kid back in the day. Even though at the end it turned into a bit of cash grab, I think the Guitar Hero franchise is one of the most... it has to be noted for the generation.
Totally,
it's one of the the biggest money makers. It's something that nearly everyone has played. It's definitely unique. I can't think of another successful game that's come around that has implemented a peripheral that comes with the game, except for Tony Hawk Ride. That was pretty sweet, wasn't it?
Tony Hawk.
But yeah, I was completely obsessed with Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
I think if you've ever played Guitar Hero, you don't need me to tell you what makes it good. It's hopelessly addicting. I'm passionate about my music, so to feel like I could actually sit there and play guitar and play the drums, I did get the Guitar Hero World Tour. But Guitar Hero 2 is what started off. That's where it clicked. That's where the addiction started. And that was when it was most exciting and most fresh, because it was so brand new back then. And I still remember my crappy Guitar Hero 2 guitar peripheral covered in stickers, and it brings back some great memories. And all my friends used to come around and play it on my tiny TV, and we always used to know all the rubbish 80 song off by heart just from playing this game. Yeah, it's just it's the game itself, and it's the memories it brings as well with my friends.
Yeah, Guitar Hero 2 is really good. I'm not much of a music person, so I never really got into them, but I have played Guitar Hero 2 and 3, and enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah, it definitely turned into a real shit show near the end, but it was a very defining game series for the entire generation, definitely. My number 8 is the best racing game of the generation, Burnout Paradise.
Cool, okay.
So good. That's all I have to say. No, I don't know what it is about Burnout Paradise that is so good, because I don't really like racing games. I really like arcade racing games. Burnout Paradise is, I don't know, they did handling so well, and they did sense of speed so exquisitely well, because it was 60 frames per second, back in 2000, like January of 2008, and it looked incredible. It still looks incredible, I think, mainly because they do speed so well, and the world, around you moves so quickly. I don't know, it's just a fun game to play, and the crashes are always incredibly good and crazy and racing, and I don't know, it's just I'm having difficulty figuring out what it is that I like so much about it, because I don't really like car games at all. But it's just one of those games, like every sort of 6 or 8 months or so, I sort of wake up or have this sudden urge to really desperately want to play Burnout Paradise, and I think that means that I like it a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really like
the
Burnout
fun
franchise. It is. Yeah, I'm like you. I don't like racing games. I don't play Need for Speed, and that in itself is quite arcadey. But there's something about Burnout which just appeals to me as someone who doesn't enjoy racing games. I think they've balanced it so well that they just attract in everyone from all audiences, and there's something about Burnout that everyone can enjoy. I think it's just over the top. It handles really well. As you said, it looks really, really good. And I think Paradise was its peak. And I didn't think anything could beat the good times I had with Revenge. But that was what 3 was called, right? Burnout 3 Revenge?
Yeah, Revenge,
am I right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Paradise was that. It was fantastic. It was fun to drive around in the open world, and it was just a hilarious game to zip around traffic and crash into people.
It's a great game, and I don't know if we'll get any. I don't know if they'll do a Burnout Paradise 2 and if it'll be any good, because almost all of Criterion has left, so
sucks.
They all made Need for Speed Rivals, which is actually really good. But anyway,
oh wait, it's Burnout 3 Takedown. Clarification. Okay, so that was what was that? Your number 8?
Yeah.
Number 7. I don't think you'll be expecting this one either. My number 7 is Fallout 3. Fallout 3 was kind of the first open world RPG I really invested in after Oblivion. When I came onto this generation of consoles, I was kind of an adventure platformer type of guy who was just kind of transitioning into shooters. I'd never played an RPG really before. I'd never played any Final Fantasy games, no role playing. I've literally never invested myself in any like big character development open world game. I've never played anything like it. So, as I said, after going through Oblivion, I basically discovered this whole new like genre that I was like, okay, I get it. I'm a big fan, and I didn't think anything could like beat it or be better than it. And I'm not saying it is, but Fallout 3 was the next game that kind of satisfied me in that need to walk around the world for hundreds of hours at a time and kind of invest in this character. And there's just something about Fallout 3 that just completely hooked me just for hours at a time. And it's hard to pinpoint my exact memories at the time, but when you invest so much time in one game that is just not a multiplayer game, you never kind of forget that world or that character or the stories that you invest in. It really becomes like a second home while you're playing it. So I think when it comes to these big open world RPG games, when you really invest in them, it's kind of a pretty unique experience. And there's something that I got really attached to in the world of Fallout that just kept me going for countless hours. I mean, I came back to that game over and over and over. And, when you invest so much time in one specific place and you remember it so well, I think it's deserving to say it's one of my favourite games of the generation. I love the mechanics, I love the world, and I just think it's great.
Yeah, I'm actually not surprised to see that on your list. I didn't play Fallout 3 when it first came out. I think I picked it up maybe a year after it came out, and I have tried 4 times to get into that game, where I have played through the first several hours, and I have never felt any interest in playing much more than about 3 hours of it, and I'm not sure why that is. I think
it does take a while to get into.
Yeah,
it did take me a while to get into.
I think that I like the writing of it. It's really weird and goofy.
Yeah, definitely.
The world is amazing, but I don't know. Maybe it's the gameplay that just kind of lacking. I don't know. It never clicked with me, which I sort of eternally feel bad about, because I know that it's probably a really, really good game, and that I'd really like it if I spent maybe more time with it. But yeah,
it really is worth a time investment. If you ever find like a month spare, maybe just give it a bit more time.
Yeah,
just keep pushing forward.
Yeah,
it might be a bit aged by now, but I still think it's really, really good.
Yeah. My number 7 is Batman Arkham City. Yeah, I think Arkham Asylum and Arkham City are just a tiny, like, I think Arkham City is just a tiny bit better than Arkham Asylum.
I think it's better. Yeah.
Like, Arkham Asylum is a fucking incredible game. You know, when it came out of nowhere, it was sort of like, wow, this is really, really good. But Arkham City, I think it's maybe, I like the story stuff perhaps a bit more than in Asylum. I think they do some good stuff with story, especially the ending of Arkham City. But it was just, I don't know, it's the first sort of superhero game I've ever liked, and it's the first time I ever really got into superheroes in general. Like,
really?
Obviously I've enjoyed the Batman films, because they're the Nolan Batman films, because they're great, but I don't know, I've never really gotten super attached to superhero adaptations, because they've always sort of been, I don't know, they've never really clicked. But the Arkham series, I think, is the best interpretation of Batman, and they do a perfect blend of super serious and comic book, and sort of comic book weirdness and comic book goofiness, and it all works really well together, and it just plays so well. I mean, I don't think there's any better melee combat game out there, and it's just, the combination of open world and getting around that open world, and the story stuff, and the gameplay constantly, you constantly getting new stuff to use in your combat, and in the stealth stuff. And I don't know, it's a weird thing for me to say that is one of my favorite games of the generation, a Batman game. I would never have expected that. Yeah. But it's just, I don't know, it's just really, really good from top to bottom. They have some really, really good boss fights. Like the Mr. Freeze boss fight is one of the better things, one of the few boss fights that I think is really, really good out there. And yeah, the combination of stealth and badass punching of dudes and the great story, it just all really works extremely well. And it's a game that I've played through, I don't know, like 4 times now, probably.
Wow,
which is
Jesus.
crazy. I think I played it through twice in like the first week and a half that it came out on the 360.
Nice.
And then played it through twice again on the PC. So yeah, I don't know, it's a great game. I think Arkham Asylum is also an incredible game, but I like Arkham City just a tiny bit more, mainly because the story stuff I felt was just a bit better. Like some of the Joker stuff in, like, the last Joker boss fight in Arkham Asylum, it was weird and dumb. But yeah, it's a really good game that I love a whole lot, which I don't know if we'll ever get around to reviewing Arkham Origins, but it might explain my distaste for Origins, is because I like Arkham City so much.
I think it's a good choice. I think both the games are really, really well done. And yeah, you're right, it's the only superhero adaptation that I've ever enjoyed as well. Except for when I was like 12 years old playing Spider-Man, and I thought swinging around a city was
Spider-Man on the GameCube, never forget.
I think I might have put Asylum above it, that's just opinion-wise. But I think I think it's deserving to be on a list, and yeah, I think you summed it up really well. They are very original and pretty good games.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
They're pretty good, I guess.
I guess. My number 6 is Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. it was the first shooter that I played after coming off of Halo 3. Yeah. It was also when I kind of first got Xbox Live. I lived in this like weird like valley, so for some reason we just couldn't get internet that would work for Xbox Live for like 2 years. So I had this Xbox that couldn't play online. So like the frustration to want to play like an online game was just ridiculous. And I remember watching Call of Duty stuff on YouTube, and it was just so frustrating that I couldn't be involved in it. And then finally, when I got Xbox Live, the first thing that I could play was Call of Duty 4. And I'd never played a Twitch shooter before either. This was completely new to me. A game that wasn't about accuracy. It was, well, accuracy helps, but it was more about reaction time. And I was just, as this was like the first experience for me, I mean, I had played Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 3, but since I was kind of, a rookie gamer and I just played it around a friend's house, we didn't exactly up the sensitivity. We kind of just played it very casually. So this was the first Twitch shooter that I really invested in, and I got horribly addicted to Call of Duty 4.
Yeah. I think everybody did.
And there's just something so clean and so like well balanced about it. It's just like, and you can't take away what Infinity Ward achieved with the Call of Duty series. And I know it's a shame how it's gone, because I have absolutely no passion for it left in my heart. I don't even care that I haven't played Ghosts, and I wouldn't care if I never got to play it. And I remember the days of Call of Duty where you played it, and when you died it was actually your fault, and you didn't blame it on a Juggernaut, Martyrdom, spawn camping, noob tubing 12-year-old.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh well, I did not pull the trigger fast enough. I suck.
Yeah, so it was
better
just,
mash axe.
Yeah, it was just clean. It was balanced, and it felt good.
Yeah,
and also you can't take away from that campaign.
So good. Yeah, it's one of the games that is not on my list, but I would probably, if it was like a different day of the week, I might almost put that on my list, because it's, I mean, yeah, like you said, you can't really crap on what, or you can't really forget what Infinity Ward did. I mean, they created the perk system, and they made that, they basically created multiplayer, it seems like, for the entire generation, because every other game started copying Call of Duty, and now it's been beaten to death. But they definitely created like the IV drip of, oh my god, I need one more game and I'll rank up and get this new gun and this new perk and this new that. And it those systems were revolutionary, and I think everybody has spent way too much time playing Call of Duty 4. And yeah, and the campaign the campaign was surprisingly ballsy and did some things that not many other games would do, like the stuff with the nuke and the campaign is really good. And the multiplayer, I mean, the multiplayer is basically the multiplayer for the entire generation. Like it set the foundation for like almost every multiplayer game after it to copy. So yeah, not having that on one of our lists would have been a crime. So number 6 is BioShock Infinite.
Okay. Okay.
In a lot of ways, I like BioShock Infinite more than I like BioShock, but there are some things that the other one does differently. And the reason I like Infinite so much is because it is, in so many ways, it's like they know exactly what I really like, and all of those things are in a game, I feel like. So I really like the time period. I really like the visual, the aesthetic design, the sort of Victorian era steampunk-ish stuff. But I also really like the story structure. I think looping storylines are really, really fascinating, and there are not enough of them out there. And the crazy hardcore sci-fi multi-universe stuff, and the history and the science and the religion stuff, all of that, it seems like every one of those things and every main thing in BioShock Infinite is something that I really, really, really like, that hasn't been touched on in games before. And it helps, of course, that they bring the world to life so well, which is something that BioShock, their BioShock Rapture was always dead, and then they had that DLC recently which sort of didn't do a great job of bringing Rapture to life, I feel like.
We reviewed it, annotation on the screen.
And so I don't know, the first 45 minutes of Infinite, I think I could play that over and over again forever and ever, and I'd be perfectly happy, because they just bring a weird and quirky world to life so well, and it was unlike anything I'd played before, I feel like. And And of course, it has the best like fan service moment I think in any game.
Yeah,
that
definitely
works so well because of that other BioShock game, which will come up shortly. I don't know. Yeah, Infinite I really like a whole hell of a lot just because it plays to a lot of these things that I really, really like that haven't been touched on in most games, which is why I put it here.
It is marvelous.
Yeah, and it's also amazing. I also felt like it was really fun to play, which I know a lot of people don't think the BioShock combat is all that interesting, but I felt like it was a lot of fun, especially the stuff with skylines. I felt like those areas were a blast to play and a blast to replay. So I don't know, it's yeah, BioShock Infinite's really good, and like I said, on a different day of the week I might put it above BioShock, but it's not right now.
I think
I know how you feel
you're right. It's it's an excellent game. It looks amazing. I love the world of Columbia.
Yeah.
I like the combat. I think you're right. I think the combat is fun, and to me it has one of my probably my favourite game ending of all time, I'd have to say. I think I could easily say Infinite as my favourite game ending of all time. I was squealing like a little puppy at the end of the Infinite. I just really like the sci-fi aspect of it as well, so I respect your choice, sir. I respect your choice. Okay, so on to number 5. Now, number 5 is Uncharted 2. Now, I got my PlayStation 3 quite late. I think about 2 years after it came out. I think I got it for Christmas 2010. So that's a couple of years after it came out, right? And I picked up Uncharted 1 and 2 pretty cheap off Amazon. They were like, you know, under a tenner each. And I played through the first Uncharted, and I enjoyed it. I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. And I popped in Uncharted 3, just because, sorry, 2, just because I was enjoying the PlayStation. I just wanted to play more. And I just couldn't have prepared myself for how blown away I was gonna be by Uncharted 2. I guess because it's harsh to say Uncharted 1 was underwhelming, but for me it was nothing that special, but it was a good game. So I was kind of expecting the same from the second one, and I couldn't have been more wrong. This was like revolutionary to me. I've never seen anything like it. It is coming from an Xbox 360 to an advanced piece of hardware like a PlayStation 3, and the stuff that they did with it. Naughty Dog, you're fucking magicians. I don't know how you did it. It was literally like playing the future to me. It was literally like playing next gen. It was the most exciting, intense, adrenaline-pumping, cinematic game I'd ever played. It was like playing a movie.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like
never seen anything like it.
It's sort of like the first proper leap forward, and like the first proper, really truly cinematic game out there. And it's one of the games that is not on my list that like I actually had it on my list up until like yesterday. But yeah, you're right. It's even though I think like some of the story stuff in the last couple hours gets a little weird with the blue gorilla people or whatever. It's a hell of a game, and like you said, the cinematic it is really like unlike anything that had ever come out before it. Even though it is so similar to all these other games, they just do everything so superbly well, and it wouldn't have worked if those characters weren't so well written and there wasn't such fun dialogue between all those characters.
The writing was so good, yeah.
Yeah, it looks incredible, and the gameplay's fine, but it's more that it's just like this non-stop, super fun, entertaining thrill ride right from beginning to end.
I think it's one of the only games that has basically made my jaw drop to the floor the entire time. I believe it was way ahead of its time. It looked like nothing I'd ever played, and it was crazy to me. It was like I was playing the next generation like 2 years early. And I think now everything's pretty much either caught up with it or just... I don't even know if many things have overtaken it, except for stuff Naughty Dog makes themselves. Those fucking guys, man, I just can't get over them. I don't know. I think they're from the future. I don't know what they're up to.
They might be, you never know.
I don't trust them at all.
Okay, so number 5.
Number 5.
My number 5, BioShock.
Oh, BioShock.
I don't know. What is there to say about BioShock? It has maybe the best world in a video game ever. Maybe. It has some of the best writing in a video game ever. I think. Just like this. It just does weird so well, and it does creepy so well, and it was like the first really smart first-person shooter I think that was made. Maybe. You know, it was like this, had a complex storyline, and it dealt with politics in some really interesting ways, and the I don't know, I don't know what to say about BioShock, for God's sake. It's so good. And like the best part of BioShock Infinite is that it's related to BioShock, you know, in some really interesting ways, without spoiling Infinite. Yeah, it was sort of like the first game that really, where the world really felt like something that I don't know, it felt like something that I wanted to know everything there possibly was to know about it, which there aren't many games that have done that since. And yeah, I don't know, maybe you can say something about BioShock, because I know you like it a hell of a lot, but
I think I'll talk about it later.
For a little bit. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's BioShock. I mean, what, I don't know what else there is to say about it. It's special.
It is special.
Yeah.
I think it's quite good. We'll see.
Yeah, I know we will.
Okay, so we're on to number 4, I think. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. My number 4 is Oblivion. The Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Now, the Oblivion meant so much to me because, as I mentioned before, I didn't have Xbox Live for a few years after I had my Xbox, and Oblivion was the one game that kept me going. I had no Xbox Live, I had this one game. It was all I could afford. I was a poor child. Feel sorry for me. All I had was Oblivion, and I played this game to death. I mean, this was the game that introduced me to the open world action RPG genre, which is now probably one of my favourite genres. It was just, God, how, this is tricky.
Well, I know what you mean. It's sort of like, I don't know, it's sort of, I never played Oblivion, but...
Oh, sorry, I just retched a little bit. Sorry about that. I just puked in my mouth.
Well, I might have played a little bit of it when it came out, but I don't really remember anything. But I know what you mean, because I mean, I played Skyrim, and Skyrim's pretty good.
Yeah, but imagine giving a kid with a game console one game. He gets one game to play.
Oblivion seems like the game to play.
I remember going onto the internet and like Googling. Do you remember in Skyrim those like miscellaneous quests, like the small quests? That's what it got to. I was like Googling those because I had done everything twice. I've played it so much. I went through about 4 discs because back when the Xbox 360 first came out, the hardware was so bad it would like tear up discs, and then the disc trays would get stuck. And I remember like I had a couple that red ringed. I accidentally sent them back with my Oblivion in, because obviously I was never taken out, so I almost forgot that you could even. So I went for like 4 copies of this. I ended up having like 4 maps of it of Cyrodiil on my wall, and it's the one world I've invested the most time into, the one fictional world I've invested my most time into, and it was my first proper RPG experience. It's the first time I've really felt like I've moved to a fictional world, and I think that is something, if you know what I mean. It really feels like it's a very unique gaming experience when you first feel invested in another place outside of your real life.
And for the first time.
Yeah, and Cyrodiil was that for me. And I invested hundreds of hours in it, and it will always be one of my most memorable gaming experiences. I think that's all that really needs to be said. It's aged, but it was a great game at the time.
Of course, yeah. What was that, like 2006?
Oh, it's old, 2006, I think.
Okay, so my number 4.
4.
Now, okay, my number 4 is The Last of Us. Now, I think The Last of Us is, on a technical level, perhaps very nearly the best game of the entire generation. Even though I'll tell you what technical... I
have no idea what's coming.
I will tell you what I personally believe to be the technically best game of the generation, though it may not be my favorite. The Last of Us is... it's sort of operating on like another level in a lot of ways. I know some people... some people don't love the gameplay, which I can understand, but I don't really... Because I think The Last of Us is like this perfect blend of gameplay, which reinforces and feels appropriate to the world, and the story feels appropriate to that world as well, and it just all works so well together. The music and the visuals are incredible, and the character building is fantastic, and the ending is like the most unexpectedly perfect thing out there. And I know you're going to talk about The Last of Us soon as well. And I mean, it's only just come out like 6-7 months ago, which is insane to think that one of the best games maybe ever came out like this close to the end of the generation.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, The Last of Us it's one of the few games we didn't review this year as well. And it's it is the best game that came out this year. I will say that fairly confidently, knowing what you think about it. That we didn't review this year, which is a shame. But it's yeah, it's I don't know. It's just a really unique game that everything worked so well together. Like, I think with Naughty Dog, the Uncharted games, for me at least, there was like this weird disconnect between Nathan Drake in the gameplay where he's just mowing down hundreds of people, you know, killing by the end of that game probably like 500 people, and he's like this super nice lovable guy in the cutscenes, and then like just a soulless dead-eyed killer. Yeah. Whereas in The Last of Us, I think they did a good job of everything you do in that game feels appropriate, and I think all the gameplay is difficult and stressful and reinforces everything that's going on around in that world. So I know we'll talk about that more in a minute.
Okay, we're getting there, close. The last three, the big three.
Final three.
I'm excited because I think you can probably I know you know mine.
I know I could probably name you. I do know the three.
You know mine,
but I don't know necessarily which order they are in. But I know the three games you're about to say.
I don't know yours though. I don't know. I only know.
Okay, shut up and say your number three already.
Sorry. Okay, my number three is BioShock. My number three is BioShock.
Yeah.
For a very, very long time, BioShock was my favorite single-player experience of all time.
Same with me.
Rapture is still my favorite fictional world that was ever created. It is just so... It looks so good, but it's so dark and horrible at the same time. And I was so conflicted when I played this about how good it looked and how impressed I was and how pretty it looked. And the way they did it, that it had been destroyed, it was all you could use at the time was your imagination and these audio discs to just kind of imagine how good BioShock looked, Rapture looked when it was in its prime.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the charm, was where all you had is these kind of stories.
Yeah, you sort of make up what it was like before the collapse. Which...
It's like walking around an abandoned house, and you kind of imagine in your own head like what it really looked like in its prime. And now we've seen it, and that kind of took away some of the beauty of it. But at the time, it was just one of the most thrilling, dark, emotional, scary journeys. And one thing that really impressed me at the time, that I think was a little bit ahead of its time, was the Big Daddies. I'd never seen kind of AI that had been scripted in this way, or unscripted, I should say. I mean, I think obviously the areas they appeared in were scripted, but to have this quite dynamic character where you could interact with if you wanted to, or you didn't have to, I think that was pretty revolutionary at the time.
And it was one of the first games that did sort of moral choices as well, where they gave you choices that affected the story of the game. I don't remember really anything doing that prior to BioShock. I'm sure like KOTOR perhaps, but you know, it's a hell of a game.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a thing.
At the time, the combat was really cool. All the Placids. Was it Placids or was it something else back then?
Plasmids.
Plasmids back then.
Placids. I don't know what that is.
Back then the combat was really interesting at the time. And I still think it's the mystery of Rapture that made it just so special. I just wanted to know as much as I could about Rapture, but they really didn't give that much away except for audio diary. So it was the mystery that made it so exciting. And obviously it had a fantastic ending, which at the time there wasn't really many twists. I think if you haven't played BioShock by now, what are you doing? I'm not going to tell what the twist is, just in case. But I think back then game stories didn't really go as far to be up to like movie standard, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And this was kind of, for storytelling wise, this kind of was a new bar for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Up till this year, it was my favourite single player experience of all time, and it will still be one of the best.
My number 3 is Halo 3, the best multiplayer game ever made. Boom.
I'm so confused.
Number 3, yes, you heard me.
I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so Halo 3 is, well, I mean, first of all, it's the best multiplayer game ever made, in case I hadn't said that already.
Yeah, by miles.
It's, you know, it's flawlessly balanced, and everyone starts on the same page at the beginning of every match, and you know, you do well because you're good at the game, not because you have better guns, and I love stuff like that. But more than anything, it was, I've never played a game. Well, I've never had more fun playing a game, and I probably will never have more fun playing a game than I have had playing Halo 3 for years. I mean, it probably provided, I would say, a solid 2.5 years of non-stop enjoyment. And it's how many games can I say where I have met people and stayed friends with them for years afterwards, and it's sort of the reason that we're here doing this today and that this channel even exists. And I've never had more fun playing it with people I didn't know, and I've never had more fun playing it with people sitting on my couch beside me. And I don't know what else there is to say. It's
here. Well said.
It's the most fun I've had gaming, and I probably won't top it ever again, which is a shame. But at the same time, I don't know. For us especially, I think it's holds a special place.
Forever.
Forever and ever, yeah.
Well said, well said. So my number 2? Oh, okay, what is it going to be? It's one or the other. Okay, so my number 2 is, as soon as I say this, my number 1. It's Last of Us. Number 2 is Last of Us. Yep, number 2 is Last of Us. As I said, BioShock was my favourite single-player game ever made until this year. I never thought that anything was going to beat BioShock. It was the benchmark, and it had... For so many years, I had BioShock to just whip out when anyone's like, "What's your favorite game?" I would just be like, "BioShock," just because when it comes down to a single player experience, I can just say BioShock. It's my favorite game. And then The Last of Us came out, and I knew it looked good. I mean, the graphics were amazing, and it looked gritty and dark. But I just had no idea how emotional this game was going to be, and how much I was going to invest in these characters. And it's just one of the most mature games ever made. People are very correct when they say Naughty Dog has really grown up with us. They were making Crash Bandicoot, and then they made Uncharted, and then they really pushed it, and they made The Last of Us, which is just one of the most realistic portrayals of the apocalypse. And it is just... this is the game why you shouldn't just be a PC gamer, people. This is worth buying a PlayStation. This is the game that you
should go and spend hundreds of dollars on a system to play.
This is... I think... a game this good can't be put into words. I think that's what makes it good. There's no adjective that exists that can explain the 15-hour journey that you go on and how you feel by the end of this. And as you said, the conclusion is just...
It's flawless. And it couldn't have been more unexpected.
Yeah, it's like you're expecting like a twist, I'm not going to say anything, but it's just like...
Or some sort of downer, and
it's just so mature, so dark, so emotionally wrecking. And it plays well, it looks great, it's really diverse, it's really, it is what single-player adventure games should be, if you can even call it. Yeah, it is an adventure, it's a journey. It's incredible. It's almost flawless, and it's the benchmark that every single-player adventure game / action game has to beat from now on.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, my number 2.
I have no idea what's coming. Okay.
My number 2 is Portal 2.
Ah, yes, of course. How did I forget? Wow. Okay.
I think Portal 2 is I think Portal 2 is the best game of the generation, though it's not my favorite. My number 1 is my favorite. I think Portal 2 is about as close to perfect as I have played in a video game. I don't know. It's just this perfect blend of gameplay and story and mechanics that I don't know. I just can't find fault in it. I have yet to find fault in it. It's been out for, this April it'll have been out for 3 years already, which is ridiculous. And I think about it a lot, and I've still never been able to say one thing that I don't like about it. And the fact that every puzzle in that game, right when you're about to give up, you figure it out. I don't know how the hell they did that. It has the best sense of humor. It has some of the best humor out there, because humor has gotten really shitty over the last couple of years. It's just become dick jokes, and those have their place. Don't get me wrong, Saints Row, I love you.
That's the first game I thought as well.
But like really genuinely clever, witty humor is dying, and it's in top form in Portal 2, and I can't think of a game that does writing and gameplay together better than this. And yeah, I think it's the technical best game of the generation, and
it's excellent.
Yeah, I don't know if there will ever be a better puzzle game than that. And it also has one of the best endings of all time, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Which you wouldn't expect from a Portal game, from a puzzle game. And it's one of the first, maybe even the first Valve cutscene where you don't have direct control. But it's a flawless game, I think, and I love it to death.
It's the king of its genre.
Yeah.
So, you know what's coming, but hopefully the audience doesn't know what's coming. My number one game of the generation is Halo 3. Now, I was a big fan of the Halo franchise before 3 came out. I played 1 and 2 with my friends locally to death. I played it so much. But there's something about... it's just going to be hard to put into words. Because 3 was just... It's the only game to ever come out that's ever actually changed my life in some way. Halo 3 is the reason that we're talking. It's the reason that I know the Mythbusters. It's the reason that I'm on this channel. It's the reason I started my own YouTube channel. It's the only game I've probably been involved in a community. It's the only game I've made friends from. It is... And, you know, I haven't even talked about the game so far. I've just said what it's done for me. The game itself... I think it's the last proper balanced multiplayer game I can think of. I can't think of a multiplayer game since where you start on the battlefield and everyone is the same.
Yeah.
Why is that gone? I don't understand, like, why...
Because of Call of Duty 4.
You're right. It's because Call of Duty 4 was so amazing and everything wants to be it. But there hasn't been anything since where you just start and everyone is the same. And you have to use your skill. And the more you level up, you don't unlock anything that makes you better. You will always be... If you're level 50 versus level 1, you'll beat the level 1 because you're better at the game, not because you've unlocked. And that's what made it so timeless, and that's what made me play it for hundreds of days. Not hours, days. I played way too much. And the one thing that needs to be commended that made it so good is Bungie. They are what made it good. They are the one company that make me safe. They make me feel safe whenever I buy a game. I know that it's going to be highly supported post-release. I know they're going to be interacting with the community. They're going to be watching what the community do, reacting to what they do. And that's what makes me so excited for Destiny. And it's what makes me so unexcited about what next game 343 is going to make. No disrespect to that company, but it's not that I'm saying 343 is bad. It's that I'm saying Bungie is so good.
Yeah, they know how to support and listen to people. And I can't really think of any other games that launched... like multiplayer games that have, or maybe Call of Duty 4 didn't have much tweaking, but when it launched, the game that launched on September 25th, 2007, if you boot it up today, it has not changed one bit. It is like exactly the same game. And like if you look at games like something like, well, Call of Duty 4 is one of those games where people as they play, they discover what perks are better, and it becomes a different game because you have to sort of play the way everyone else is playing it. You have to use Juggernaut and this and that. And yeah, Halo 3 is just like you boot it up today and it's the same game that you played 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And
I think there was such a subtle skill arch to it as well. You could really jump in, and if people are really good, you would get pooped on.
Yeah.
But
you can also it was also like you can also just jump in and screw around and have fun. Like you could also just get on a mongoose and drive around like an idiot and try and splatter people.
There's not many multiplayer games that have come out since where you can play competitively or you can play for fun.
Yeah.
Just joking around with friends. Like, I don't know what you would do in Call of Duty to have fun outside of being competitive. I literally can't think of one thing. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy my competitive... Well, not competitive, but you can't really have shenanigans in Call of Duty very often like you could in Big Team Battle in Halo 3. And the way that file sharing was done, that you can create maps...
that was the other thing. Like, there's so much stuff in that game. Like, there's the campaign, which is great. And custom games, which are, like... I don't think there's ever been a custom game... or a game that has had such customizable multiplayer. I mean, the subsequent Halo games have lost some of their customization, and... So yeah, there's custom games, and then Forge, which combine together to create like all these stupid game types, like Fat Kid, and all these zombies, and all this dumb stuff, and theater mode as well, which that
was crazy. For
it was insane.
It was a game changer.
It was
a massive game changer.
Like theater mode still doesn't exist in games today.
It basically defined YouTube gaming videos as well. It's basically where it started. I remember watching RB and the Chief and the early Machinima stuff, and obviously it was all because of Halo Theater Mode just gave people these opportunities to create kind of mini stories. That's where Machinima started. And it's kind of where gaming videos started on YouTube as well. And yeah, you can go on forever with how good Halo 3 was. It was just ages. I think I spent more time on Bungie.net looking for maps than I did on some other games that I played. But yeah, Halo 3 Mythbusters, that's why we're here. If you're a new subscriber, go back and watch Halo 3 Mythbusters on this channel. They are classics, and that's why we're here. That's why me and you are here and talking, and that's why it's my top game of the generation.
Yeah,
it deserves it.
It's a hell of a game. I love it.
Love you, Halo. Mwah. Okay, I have no idea. Oh shit, I have one. Oh god, no, I have one idea, but it might be.
My
I know what
favorite
it's gonna be.
game of the generation is Mass Effect 2.
I just got it. Oh god. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
I
okay,
adore everything that there is in Mass Effect 2. I love science fiction. I think science fiction is about the best genre out there for entertainment, and it has maybe the best sci-fi world created. It's deep and weird and dark and realistic in ways that I've never experienced and have yet to. And I still don't know 100% what it is about Mass Effect 2 that I love so much, but every time, like, I played through Mass Effect 2 now probably 7 times.
Wow.
I know, which is ridiculous, I know. It's to say it out loud, I know, it's ridiculous. But every single time I've replayed it, it's been different. You know, gameplay-wise, it's usually the same, but you can change classes and get some different abilities, yeah, sure. And obviously the story and all of the side stories and all of that is unchanged throughout, but the way you go through, like the order in which you pick those stories has changed every single time. And every single time I played it, there's been like new dialogue that I've never heard before, new areas, new people that you've talked to. Like, just last week, I booted it up to record a little footage because I already knew it was on my list. And I'm playing a mission, and Garrus says something hilarious that I'd never heard before. And this is like my 8th time that I've booted up and replayed this mission. And I've never heard him say that piece of dialogue before. And I don't know, it's just... The main story is kind of not interesting at all, but it's the... like just the characters and all of their side missions and all of their loyalty missions, they're all so diverse and different, and each character is really great and likable in their own really interesting ways. And I'm more than anything, it's the universe that is so great. And in Mass Effect 2 they tell such fun stories and good stories inside of that universe. And yeah, it's the game that I've replayed through the most, and it's the game that I will continue to replay through, and every single time it's slightly different, which no other game can say that. Nothing else has been, you know, I replay a BioShock game and it'll be exactly the same. The Last of Us will be exactly the same every time through, and the story stuff in Mass Effect 2 will be the same every time through, obviously, but it's just, every time I play it, it feels like it's the first time I'm playing it through, which is weird. And I am madly in love with all of the characters and the universe, and yeah, I don't know. It's a weird choice for my favorite game of the year, I would have said.
Well, we said a few games on this list were not going to be the games themselves that we thought were the best games of the generation, but it's what they do for you
exactly,
as a person.
Yeah. And there are a few games
so
that satisfy me as much as Mass Effect 2, and they're like, it's got such a great sense of humor, and you know, it's also so gray and dark in some really interesting ways, and I can't get enough of it, and I really hope that the next Mass Effect game can capture some of that again, but that's another discussion. But yeah, I would have, up until maybe last week, I would have said Portal 2, but I realized that Mass Effect 2 is pretty much my favorite game of the entire generation, and capturing footage for it the other day, I was like, oh, I really want to replay this game again. It's so good. So
fair enough, sir. I do enjoy the trilogy.
Yeah,
I enjoyed all of them. 2 was easily the best one by far.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you've got to commend any game that improves on its prequel. predecessor so much more. It was so much better than Mass Effect 1, even though Mass Effect 1 was really good in itself.
I love Mass Effect. Yeah, like the first game.
It's an excellent
great,
RPG. It's an excellent sci-fi game. And yeah, I agree. I think it's a great game, and I respect your choice there.
Oh, good. I'm glad you approve. I'm so happy. So that's that.
That was interesting.
Yeah,
that was fun as well. But tell us what you thought, guys, of this new format. It was really fun to record. I enjoyed talking about it. I was excited to hear your list, and I was not disappointed. And I think it's nice to look back, and it was almost kind of like a gaming memories, a lot of it, talking about some of our earliest things. And it really makes you reflect and look back at how good these last 5 and 6 years have been in gaming, and it makes me excited for the future. I can't wait for what's coming over the next 5 years with the PS4 and the Xbone.
But yeah, it was a great generation, and every one of these games on this list warms my heart, and I love them to death. And there are like another 5 or 6 games that are not on this list that are all incredible. I wish it was top 20.